Good afternoon, everybody. This is tilted. Let's see if that's better. All right. So last week we talked about. I showed you guys how we put some of our put our supers together, put our frames together, and we talked a little bit about the extractor. I was going to show you, but then I realized that the extractor was up in our storage up above. So we just said I'd talk about it some other time. Well, I decided that today would be some other time. So I went ahead and pulled it down from storage. However, I pulled it down from storage 3 or 4 minutes before starting this video. Once I got set up on the tripod, I started the video. So I haven't wiped out any of the dust or anything like that. So please be aware that we realize that we are dealing with honey. We're dealing with a food product. We give this thing a very thorough scrubbing before we put honey into it, because let's face it, we are not disgusting. But it has been sat up for a bit over a year because we didn't take any honey last season due to some seasonal stuff. So this year we intend to be taking some honey. Are you serious? I turned off all of my notifications and I'm still getting one. There we go. So anyway, we intend fully to be utilizing the daylights out of this extractor. It's a very tiny thing. It's not that much. I can fit 3 frames in here at a time. But for the purposes that we've needed in the past, it does great work. So we're going to keep with that. Hi, Troy. Becky, when you come on, dear friend of mine, we were in college together. She loves what we're doing so much here that she went ahead and put together one of these mugs for me. And I promised her that when I was doing Facebook Lives, I would use her mug. In fact, when I think of this thing, I think of it as Becky's mug. But then I lost it in my car. And so just the other day, I'm cleaning up, which, that tells you how often I clean my car, because I just started cleaning it the other day. But I found my mug. And so today I got it cleaned up this morning. And my intention was to make my pot of coffee, have my breakfast. My stepdaughter made avocado spread for some toast. We did some fried eggs. It was delicious. I had some coffee. I made a pot. And it was really good, that first cup of coffee. And I was going to put the rest of it into my mug. But then I drank another cup. And then I drank another cup. And then the pot was empty. So I made another pot. And I've got your mug. Look at that thing, though, y'all. She did this by hand. Her website escapes me now. Becky, I'm sorry. You'll have to when you come back on, I'll have to put the link into the comments below so that you guys can get to her website. She'll put that thing together for you. It's great. I poured my coffee at 11:30 this morning. Mind you, I'd already had a pot, and it's now what, 3 o'clock. This puppy's still hot, so it's still going strong. I'm loving it. Anyway, so there's that. I did my commercial for you, Becky. Now, let's talk about, and I'm going to continue to drink my coffee as we talk. So let's talk about this extractor. Centrifugal force is how we get this honey out. What we do, I've got a couple of frames off to the side. I'm gonna put 2 of them in here because it'll only hold 3, and I'm gonna keep 1 out for us to talk about, and then I'll show y'all how we do that process too. Okay, so those are in there, those are set up. So with these frames, what we do, once they're full, and this one's got comb on it, sort of, you can kind of see that it's built out a little bit. This is one of them that we would not necessarily keep, because actually this one actually looks, yeah, no, it's warped out of place. So we would not keep this. This wax is actually going to be going into our wax melter. We'll use it for candles, soap, polish, all kinds of different stuff that we'll put this wax to use for. But in the meantime, it makes for a great example. So the bees build this comb out and then fill it with nectar, turn it into honey. We cut the caps off, and we put that into the extractor. I'm going to tilt my camera down just a little bit so that you guys can see a top view of the extractor. I will take the camera off in a little bit, and we'll look, dang it, we'll look at the extractor from every angle. But for now, the top view is what you're interested in, because as a beekeeper, as you're extracting this honey, this is actually all you're seeing to begin with. All right, so you can see that I got 2 frames down in there, and that's all they do. They just fit down in there. They're set up so they'll fit in even. You want to make sure that they're in there straight, because you are going to be spinning this thing at a pretty decent velocity. Yeah, I think I said that right. Another phone call. But you'll be spinning it at a pretty high velocity, so you want to make sure that it's in there even, because otherwise it'll get to wobbling on you and all that kind of stuff, and that's just not fun. You risk breaking your wax and everything. So, because the idea is that you spin this honey out, and then you pull the frames out, you flip them around, you spin the honey out from the other side, but then you've got decently honey-free frames of comb to put back into the super, so that the bees don't have to build fresh comb on foundation wax. They can just refill. They'll clean that out and then refill that. So that's where the big idea for the extractor came from. I'd love to claim credit for building that, or coming up with that idea, but that's been around a lot longer than me, so I can't claim it. Anyway, so you got your 3 frames in there. You can see that, and then you just spin. You got a little hand crank here. You've got some that are motorized. Some folks they'll take a drill, and they'll take this handle off. They'll put the drill on the end there. They'll hex bolt, whatever, and they just with their drill. I'm not doing that noise again, so don't even bother to ask. And so they'll do it that way. There are different ways that you can go about it, but that's all you do. You just get it spinning, and then that'll sling the honey out. And we'll stop it, but that slings the honey out down the sides, which drains down to the base. And then let's go ahead and take this camera off. Put my finger out of the camera there. All right, I'm gonna flip it around real quick. There we go. And so here's an outside view of the extractor. You can see that it is just a container, cylindrical container. Honey slings down around the sides, and then we got this valve. We'll take a food grade 5-gallon bucket. We'll put a strainer across the top, usually some sort of cheesecloth or something like that. Nothing that strains out the microscopic anything. We want to make sure that we keep all those enzymes in there. We want to keep that pollen that gets stuck in the honey. We want to keep all that stuff in there. We just want to get big stuff, chunks of wax, that sort of thing that happens to be in the honey. We'll strain all of that out of there, and goes into a 5-gallon bucket. For those of you who do not know how these things work, there it is. And you can, of course, control the flow. Sometimes you're getting towards the end, and you'll slow it down a little bit, and then boom, done. It's that simple. That's the extracting process. Now, from the 5-gallon bucket, there's more processing. Oh man, I'm too old to be standing back at me. There we go. All right, let's flip this thing back around. So there you go. The crank is all inside here. Nobody really cares about the inner workings. But you can see it. Anybody getting dizzy? You feel your eyelids getting heavy? You're getting sleepy? Yep. You're relaxing? I don't know. I saw something the other day about hypnosis. So I thought I'd tell you. There you go. What questions do you have? If any. All right. So today, that's the extractor in a nutshell. That's as complicated as it gets. So I hope you enjoyed that. Today we came in and we built some more supers. In fact, we built the last of the supers. We got some spare parts. Oh, I did want to show you this. So from time to time, as much experience as we have at building it, back when I started, I had hair and no gray. I mean, I was a kid. No beard, actually. No puberty. None of that stuff. So I've been at this for quite a long time. My dad's been at it even longer than that. And from time to time, your experience doesn't matter. That just happened today, and I thought that I'd show you. All you can really do is laugh about it, but the wood just we were trying to get it seated in, and we pop, 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 trying to get those grooves in line with the end piece, and instead we just popped it right in half. So that was fun. We might be able to, fix that if we really wanted to put that kind of effort into it. We don't. We're just gonna. We got that wood burning stove behind me. We're going to feed the flames. Let's see what else we got going on here. I don't really have that much to talk about today, guys. I wanted to walk you through the extractor. We did. You can see behind me, right there. There's our stack of supers. You can see I got 3 Nooks sitting there, stacked there, and 8 deeps. Now we have more. And we use this extractor, Amanda, which actually fit really well in our living room down there. It's a fun experience to be able to actually sit down, extract the honey, get it bottled up. You get honey just freaking everywhere. And of course, you lick your hands, you gotta go wash, lick your hands, wash, all that kind of stuff. But before you know it, man, you got this sugar high going on. And it's like, this is why I'm a beekeeper, because you are messed up on that sugar. But gosh, it's so much fun. And we had a good time, wouldn't you say, Amanda? Because you wrote that out with exclamation marks, so I imagine that you enjoyed yourself pretty well. Every now and then I'll come across somebody and they're like, yeah, I just don't really like honey all that much. I don't talk to them for very long, because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. That's just weird. I don't know what's wrong with people. But extracting the honey is, it can be fun. It's tedious. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that particular day when we were extracting, we were at it for a few hours. And that's all you're doing. You're just spinning and taking it out, putting new one in, spin it. It's just on and on and on, for a couple of hours. So it can get tedious. Your arms can get tired, but that's why it's fun to work with a partner and take turns with it and all that kind of stuff. Have you some hot biscuits ready, because I'm telling you guys, you've seen these videos with me out at the honeybees, at the hives, when we are taking the honey on those days. We're going to try to have the camera set up. Might talk to my buddy Ricky again, who helped me the last time. Of course, y'all haven't seen that video yet because I still don't know how to edit. But we did the interview with my dad. Ricky came out and helped out holding the camera and all that kind of stuff. He even asked some questions during the interview process. So we'll probably try to get him to come out again, because he really had a good time. And so that way we can show you guys what the robbing process is. We are going to be so busy that we're probably not even going to talk to you. You'll just get to watch the video. Maybe Ricky will talk about what he's experiencing or something like that. But it's a lot of work. What I was getting to was that as delicious as honey is at your kitchen table or your dining room table, whatever the case, wherever you're eating the honey, as delicious as that honey is, that same honey, as it comes out of the hive, and I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it for the rest of my life, but as it comes out of the hive, you got all those bees flying around you. You take your veil off, you stick your honey in that, or stick your finger in that honey, and you taste it right there at the hive with those bees flying around. Quite literally the sweetest flavor you will ever experience. It's the experience. Everything about it is just absolutely amazing. Second only to that is as you're sitting there at the extractor and you're going through that process, you're putting all that work in, you got all that labor in there, and you taste that honey. There again, it's just incredibly delicious. After that, of course, you're sitting at your table, and as you eat it, as a beekeeper, okay, so I'm talking from my experience, because typically the honey that I'm eating is honey that I've extracted myself, harvested myself. Although people travel and they're like, hey, we thought about you while we were on our trip, and so we got you this honey that's supposed to be blah, blah, blah. It's like, I encourage that. You can just send me honey. That I'm cool with that. That doesn't bother me at all. Because that stuff is really good too. Because I know what the experience was for that beekeeper to get to the bottling process. So much fun. So cool. So when I eat honey, it takes me right back to my hive where honey is the most delicious. So why I'm telling you that, I don't know. But the purpose of these videos was, is to share with you the experiences of being a beekeeper without you actually having to come to the hive. Why do I love keeping bees? Honey is a big part of that. Everybody loves the beekeeper. I mean, you hear, Dad and I were talking today about, why are the videos as popular as they are? Which, of course, I mean, let's face it, I would love for them to be more popular. But why do you guys faithfully every week log on and watch these videos? I love it, by the way, thanks. But my thoughts is that many of you, are familiar with the media hype about the population of the bees declining and all that other kind of stuff. I have my own thoughts on that. We can talk about it privately if you'd like to. But everybody sees the media hype. And so, then you get on here and you get to see this guy talking about, who happens to know, at this point anyway, because I'm not that popular on YouTube yet. But I know every single one of you in some capacity or another. So you get to come out and support your friend, watch these videos, make me feel really cool about myself because look at how popular I am, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know what it is that brings you on. I'd love to know what brings you on. Why are you personally popping onto these videos every single day, or every single time I do one? What's got you fascinated with the bees? I'd like to read about it, and then if you don't mind, I'd love to talk about it on the video. This gives me an opportunity to bring people on. It says bring people onto the video with you. If you guys have experiences with bees, somebody in your family, somebody in your lifetime has been a beekeeper, they've had some sort of impact on you in whatever capacity, I'd love to hear your story, and maybe we'll bring you on this video and we'll talk about it. I think that'd be kind of fun. Through the winter, there's not a ton that we're going to be able to do as far as honeybee work. The supers are built. We've got some mediums that we're going to have to purchase, and we'll have to put those together as well, but the process is exactly the same. And I'm not going to have a video going while I'm banging away with a hammer, because that's just loud, or drilling away. It's loud and nobody cares, so I'm not going to do that. But that's it. We've just got some work to do, but it's not a whole lot, so we're not going to have a whole lot of bees flying around. So that said, in order to continue to do these videos during the winter, I need some ideas. So I'd love for you to share them, and then maybe we get on here, we talk, we have some fun. Maybe everybody can order a coffee mug from Becky. Talk about the difference between Tupelo and sourwood. All right, well there you go. We'll talk about that right now, Troy. That's actually not a bad idea. Honey is not one size fits all. That's actually a very great point. Different flowers produce different flavors. Apple honey, by the way, which is going to be derived from the nectar produced by the apple blossom, it's not exactly going to taste like you're biting into an apple. It's apple honey, it comes from the apple tree, but it has its own unique flavor. Hints of apple, sure. Same with orange, same with any of the fruit trees out there will have hints of, but it's going to be its own unique flavor. Now, I'm not so educated on honeys, the different honeys out there, that I can speak about those specifics. I do know that I think it was the tulip poplar is see, and I hate to call them out because here I am, I'm going to say tulip poplar, and then I'm going to talk about its color and its flavor and all that kind of stuff, and it turns out I was wrong. I'm remembering a totally different flower altogether. I don't know. So anyway, I do know that you're going to have color. Honey varies in color as much as it does flavor. So you have darker honeys. You've got, I remember one, I think it was the tulip poplar. It was a very dark honey, and it had a very smoky flavor to it. In fact, in one of our videos here, one of our Facebook Lives, we got to talking one day about smoked honey. never had heard of it before, but I do know that there is a honey out there that had a smoky flavor to it, and that was, I believe it was the tulip poplar. Sourwood, I do know because we've harvested it quite a bit. It's a much lighter honey. It's much sweeter. The darker the honey, the less sweet it's going to have. And so the sourwood was just amazing. When I say tulip poplar, it might have been Tupelo. I don't remember. But either way, so different honeys have different flavors. In fact, if you guys have ever been to Savannah, Georgia, I'm sure there are other locations, other bee places that do it. Savannah's really popular for the Georgia folks. But if you've ever been down there, they've got the Savannah Bee Company or whatever it's called. We went there on our honeymoon and walked through. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Savannah was this Savannah Bee Company, because you walk into their store and they got just bottles and all that. The displays are just amazing. But they got lights behind the jars of the honey, and of course each of the jars are transparent so that you can see the honey, obviously. But then the light shines through, and it really accentuates the different colors of the honey. It's just incredibly cool. So if you ever get an opportunity, whether it's the Savannah Bee Company down there or wherever your location happens to be, if you find a place that has honey displayed on the walls with the lights behind it, you really ought to take an opportunity to get in there and take a look at that. You'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. So yeah, the flavor profiles are pretty amazing. That being said, I want to know more about what your experiences are with beekeeping. Man, that coffee is so hot. It's so good. But I'd like to be able to talk about it. I'd like to, or at least learn about it, because this video, the YouTube channel, its purpose is to share the love of bees. And it doesn't have to just be about mine. I'd love to hear your story too. So email is hunsuckerbees, HUNSUCKERBEES @gmail.com. Pretty simple. It's my last name, the word bees, @gmail.com. Or you can send me. Yeah, he does like the Tupelo. Yeah, and see now, my dad's better at that kind of stuff. I don't know, maybe he's got a better memory than me or something. But he's much better about that kind of stuff. He can actually remember those flavor profiles and talk about them at length. His experiences with the different flavors. He's got his flavors that he likes. I've got my flavors that I like. But he's better at remembering flowers and all that kind of stuff. But in his defense, he actually gets on. He gets online. He gets into the books, and he actually researches nectar sources, yearly schedule for flowers and all that kind of stuff. He knows when they're going to be popping out, so that somebody's got to. I mean, you've got to be ready. If you get your bees out to an area after the bloom has started, essentially you are too late. You'll get something, but you won't get everything. The bees take time. They have to get themselves acclimated. They have to scout. They have to find the blooms, all that kind of stuff, or find the sources. So you get them out there as the flowers are still in bud stages, and then let them get acclimated and all that kind of stuff. They'll find their way around. And then once the flowers bloom, now it's on. But they already know where everything is, and they know how to get back to the hive. They know how to get to the flower. They know how to get back home, all that kind of stuff. And so somebody's got to be prepared for all that kind of stuff. And he's just better about it. So, but yeah, he knows those flowers. And, he talks about Tupelo, talks about sourwood. We always talked about wanting to get cotton honey, by the way. And we never did, just because, cotton is so heavily sprayed that we just never wanted to risk getting our bees around it. I've never had cotton honey. I've only heard about it, but it's supposed to be an almost clear honey and just super, super sweet. So it would be great to do that. Of course, now I'm in Kentucky, and that's not grown up here, and tobacco honey just doesn't. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it certainly doesn't sound appealing to me. So we're kind of limited on what we can take here. But there are different kinds. And so if you're ever interested in that, that'd be something that's it might be a lot of fun for you to research is the different types of honey. And who knows? I mean, if you travel, try it out wherever you go. Again, I always insist buy local. Beekeeping is expensive. And so when you buy local, you know that you're getting that pollen source that's in that area, that sort of thing. You buy from a grocery store, that stuff might have been shipped in from China. Who knows? Now, if it's advertised pure or local or whatever the case is, okay, that's cool. That's one thing, because then they got to deal with lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. But still, you're supporting the national chain, whereas you can find yourself a local beekeeper. They're not that hard to find. County commissioners can tell you where your beekeepers are. We have to register. We keep our bees in Georgia. I mean, no, we don't. No, not anymore. We keep our bees in Kentucky, over here in the Louisville area. But I live in Indiana. From time to time, I've only had to do it one time so far, but we keep those options open. From time to time, I'll take a hive to my house in Indiana. But when I do, I always have to call my commissioner and let them know, hey, I've got this beehive. It's been tested. This is what's going on. But I'm going to be crossing state lines with it. We always want to make sure that we keep our local governments apprised of that. Pest control companies. A lot of beekeepers will go out and collect swarms. And we've done it before as well when we were living in Georgia. Not so much here because, our lives are hectic enough. We're not trying to chase swarms anymore. But one of the things that we would do is we'd call our pest control companies and we'd let them know, hey, look, my name is this. I'm a beekeeper. If you get calls for swarms, instead of killing them, it'd be great if you gave me a call. We'll come pick them up. We used to get calls all the time for that. So that'd be a resource to get a hold of, to be able to find a local beekeeper. But buying local is the way to go. Somebody just threw me a bunch of hearts, so I guess that must have been good information for you. Cool. Y'all, I love coffee so much. If you don't want to send me honey, Betty, look. But if you don't want to send me honey, you can, send me coffee. That's cool too. I like dark roast. Anyway, let's see. What were we going to talk about next? So those are some ways for you to be able to find local beekeepers, local honey, that sort of thing. If you like sweet coffee, since we're on the subject of coffee, honey makes a great alternative sweetener. I'm a black coffee drinker, but a lot of folks, yeah, it is so it's a tumbler. I've been calling it a mug, a coffee cup, whatever. So this is the tumbler that Becky made for me. I was telling Becky, by the way, I poured this coffee at 11:30 this morning. It's 3:30 now. It's still hot. It's not burning my tongue hot, but it's still hot. It's nice. I mean, it's great insulation in there, so it's a really good tumbler. Let's see. Oh, okay. So we talked about finding local honey, local beekeepers, that sort of thing. Supporting local anytime you can, and we always want to definitely encourage that. Okay. I just got educated. So for those of you who do not know, mugs are ceramic and stainless steel ones are called tumblers. There you go. So I have a tumbler that I've been calling my coffee cup. But you can find your local that way. Let's see. So our next step, I can go ahead and tell you that too. As far as, what we got to do to get ready for spring is now with each of these supers that you had, that I showed you over there that we just finished building today. We've also got nooks galore stacked up outside the shop here. Excuse me. Quite a few of them are empty. So we probably have 150, maybe 200 frames that we showed last week. Oh, well, here, hold on. Frames that we have to build. Now, for right now, we are only going to build the frames. We may take this little strip of wood out so that it's ready, cleaned up and ready to go. We'll build them. And then just before we put them into the supers, the honey supers, just before that point, we'll go ahead and put the foundation wax in, put them in the supers, take them out to the bees. So we do still have some hardware work, material work that needs to be done. But honest to goodness, that's it. We got some feeding stuff that we have to concern ourselves with. As I concern ourselves with, we need to be aware of. The bees are going to need food coming into about midwinter. They'll start taking on. We've talked about this before. They're consuming right now a pretty standard amount. We'll get to a point where it's just consistently cold all of the time, which happens in Kentucky and further north. I know in Georgia it's like consistent cold. What is that? In other places, Georgia, just so y'all know, other places they have this thing called it's winter, and it gets really cold. They get below freezing frequently. I know you've heard about that. But in this winter time, in this downtime during the winter, we'll build those frames and all that kind of stuff. We're not doing that every season, by the way. We'll get that stuff built up, and then sometimes a year or so will go by before we have to make any more, with the exception of like having to plug in some gaps when we broke some equipment or something like that. Supers wear out, frames wear out, wax wears out, so it all has to be replaced. But it doesn't have to be like on this grand scale every single year. Once you've built to where you want to be, then you're just maintaining. The winter stuff. Oh, are you back? Where are you now, Becky? I thought you were north or northwest. I thought, or Midwest. I thought. I don't know why. Dang, we've talked about this, right? My memory, goldfish, short term is shot. Frames. We were talking about building the frames. So we'll get that foundation in. This season they'll have to build that. They'll have to build the comb out because we're putting a lot of foundation wax in there. So they'll build that comb out. But that's the reason why we use the extractor. Back in the days before the extractor, what they do is they just crush up all that wax and they just stick new frames in there and all that kind of stuff and let them rebuild. But now, because of the Langstrom hive method, which is, the uniform boxes, the uniform, Oklahoma, New York, now Florida. Good God. I think I remember the Oklahoma was the one, because that was you and I were in school together, and then you moved out to Oklahoma. I didn't know about New York and Florida. Cool. Well, I hope you're enjoying Florida. They don't have winter down there at all, especially the further south you get. So we build the frames, we give them the foundation wax. We'll use the extractor. We'll keep all that comb as nicely built as we can. A lot of folks, cut comb is very popular with folks, and so we actually we'll have some frames set up that are specific to doing the cut comb. And really, it's exactly what it sounds like. You cut the comb. You put that in the jar, and then you fill that jar with honey, and then people have that wax that they can actually cut up and chew and all that kind of stuff, which is also a lot of fun. I remember as a kid, we'd get that cut comb or burr comb in the hive itself. We'd cut that out, and y'all have seen us do that in the past too. If they've got too much space, what they'll do is they'll fill that with comb that they've built. Low 40s. That's like, what part of Florida then? Because low 40s is actually pretty cold for that area. But so we call that burr comb when they build that in places that we don't want that. So we usually will cut that out. Well, when it's filled with honey, that's a fun little snack while you're there at the beehive. So we'll pop that in our mouth and chew it like gum. You're not blowing bubbles with it because it's just wax. But you chew it up, get all that honey out of there, and spit the wax out. And it's just one of those, getting some white hair. Yeah, Clint, you're a jerk. But yeah, Jacksonville. Oh, and it's that cold. Wow. Well, that is up towards the north end of Florida, so I guess so. But anyway, so the burr comb, we'll cut that out. We'll enjoy that honey there. But for sale, we have frames very similar to what we've already shown you. It just doesn't have that wire support in there, and they tend to be shorter so that it can actually support its own weight. And we cut that up, we put that in the jar, and then we will actually sell that too. There's round comb, which is the same thing. It's just the frame itself is built so that you got 3 sections in there, and they're round comb. You cut that out, you put that in a container, and then you fill it with honey, and then you sell that. So there are different ways, and so in those cases, yes, we'll have to replace that wax every single year. But you want to start with fresh wax for that, because the bees walk on the wax, and they that's part of the cleaning process. So you don't want to try to turn around and sell. Yeah, I love you too, Clint. But you don't want to turn around and try to sell wax that's been in there for a couple of years. So you always want to start that stuff off fresh. So yes, every single year we will have some winter work that needs to get done in order to get ready for that next spring. But big projects like we've been hitting here, that won't be every year. It'll be every year for the next few years, because we constantly want to try to be building our base. Right now we've got the 10 hives going into winter. We expect we should come out with between, we've already lost 3 for different reasons. So I'd really hope that we're done losing. But we might come out with 8. And if we come out with 8, then we expect to be able to, probably triple that amount this season. I'm actually kind of excited. For the first time in my beekeeping life, I'm going to be grafting bees, and so that'll be kind of cool. I'll set up the video camera for you, and I'll do that on day 1. We'll set up the video camera so that you guys can watch me just mess up in the learning process. I didn't cuss though. Anyway, but you get to see me actually practice the process. And when I say practice, I'm actually just going to do it, and hopefully not, completely suck at it. Because what that does is we actually take, because for those of you that don't know, the queen bee starts the same as any other worker bee in the hive. Same egg, same process of development and all that kind of stuff in the first couple of days. She's laying as an egg. She's a worker bee egg. And what happens is that she'll hatch, and within a day or 2, if they need a new queen for whatever reason, within a day or 2, they'll take that worker larva, they'll build queen cells, and they'll put that worker larva into the queen cell, and then they feed her nothing but this royal jelly. The royal jelly is an accelerant for their developmental process, so this larva will eat only the queen, the royal jelly. Thanks, guys, for sticking it out with me while I deal with my memory. Words will just go away. But so she eats only that. The worker bee, for instance, will develop within 21 days of being laid, and then so 20. The egg is laid. 21 days later, thank you, Becky. 21 days later, the worker bee will climb out of the cell. She'll eat the cap off, chew the cap out of her way, and then climb out of the cell. The queen, on the other hand, who is bigger and more developed, she actually has a fully developed reproductive system, whereas the worker bees do not have a fully developed reproductive system. They can lay eggs. They just can't be inseminated. They're not going to mate with a drone. So what will happen instead is the worker bee, in some very extreme cases, it doesn't happen a lot, but in some extreme cases, the worker, because there is no queen and they've been without a queen for a while, they don't have any egg or larva to be able to make new queens with, raise new queens with. So the worker bee will, several worker bees maybe even, will try to take over that process, and so she will start laying eggs. Unfortunately, they're all unfertilized. They will hatch. We've talked about this before, but they will hatch. They just hatch. When you have an unfertilized egg, that is drone every time. So when you come out to your bees, you want to see some drone during the spring, especially because that's mating season. You want to see that. But if you come out to your hive at any time during the year and you just got a really heavy population of drones, you either have an unfertilized queen. Either she just laid her last egg. We actually had that. I don't know why I pointed behind me. But last season when we were coming out of winter, we had our inspector come through and check our hives. We opened it up. We had a lot of drone activity, and so we were like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we're coming into spring. They're getting ready. But then we got deeper into it, and we're like, "That's a lot of drone." And then we realized that what we had was a queen that had laid all of her eggs. She was a heavy layer too. So, I mean, she was good. Huge population in that hive. But it was such a huge population that she just ran herself dry. And so we actually had to find her, dispatch her. And I don't know if you guys remember or not, but we had to combine that hive, what was left of it, with another hive. We used those resources to strengthen the hives the colonies that we had remaining. So in some extreme cases, instead of the queen running out of fertilized egg, she'll die off. In some cases, beekeepers aren't very careful. They take the frame out, they find her, they're really excited. Oh, look, here's the queen, yay. And then they go to put that frame back in there and they drag it across another frame and they kill their queen. It happens. But then they're not aware of it because, I just had eyes on my queen. I know she's in there. And then I wasn't careful in putting her back. Other times she dies of natural causes. Other times she just isn't performing and the bees will take care of her themselves. Generally speaking, they will have a backup plan, but not always. So whatever the case is, sometimes the queen just doesn't make it. She dies. And the workers then have to, or at least attempt to pick up the slack, and they start laying these eggs. You get a lot of drone. I have no idea where I was going with that. Raising queens, rearing queens. So what we're going to do is I'll pull out a frame of the brood, which the frame of brood is the same as a frame of honey as far as the frame itself is concerned. The foundation wax that we put in there is the same. There is drone foundation that we can put in there, and we will do that in some cases because the drones are larger, and so the cell itself has to be bigger. But for the most part, we just put regular foundation wax in there. They build that comb out, and then the queen just walks around literally all day long, sticks her abdomen into the cell, drops an egg, moves on to the next one. And she doesn't pick and choose where she's going to be laying, by the way. She has a lot less control in the hive. Like, she has a lot less rulership. We call her the queen, but she actually doesn't rule the hive. She's told where to go, directed where to go by her attendant bees. They feed her, they groom her, they clean her, they direct her, they determine whether they need more honey on this frame or pollen on this frame or water on, whatever the case is, that's being determined by those attendant bees, which is neat. That's actually just within the last few years been determined. That's not something that's just ancient knowledge. That's actually just been realized. So that's kind of cool. The authority is not the queen's. She does what she's told to, and that's pretty much it. And when she's not doing what she's told to, when she's no longer able to perform to that level of expectation, she's dispatched. Sometimes pretty brutally. They'll raise a new queen. They'll take her eggs, by the way, one of her daughters or several of her daughters, and raise them as queens. First one out tends to win. If multiple are hatched at a time, 2 or 3 tend to come out at the same time. They find each other, they'll fight, and they do that to the death. The other bees will not involve themselves. They won't participate. They'll watch, but they won't participate until a clear victor is evident. And then the loser, they will just go ham. Tear her wings off, sting her to death, tear her wings off, throw her out, let her just starve, whatever the case is. It is brutal, but it is efficient. In fact, one of the most amazing things about honeybees is just how efficient they actually are. Get the feelings out of the way. They just work, and everything about what they do is centered on being able to split. We talk about swarms. You've heard me talk about swarms. I've actually talked about swarms in this live feed so far. But so what happens is the colony will get so full that it's overcrowded. This is intentional. They do that on purpose every single year. And what will happen is once they get too full, the attendant bees will start signaling, okay, it's time. Let's go ahead and get this started. And so the other workers will find larvae that they want to develop into queens. They'll take them, they'll build the queen cells, they put those in the queen cells, they feed them the royal jelly. 16 days later, queens are hatching. First one out goes around to the other ones. You can always tell too, by the way, when a queen hatched first, because what she does is she'll go to the other queen cells, tear open the side of it, and sting her to death while she's still in there. She can't fight back. She's trapped in the cell. That's that early bird gets the worm thing. Late bird gets stung in the ass. It just happens. And so, yeah, she goes around, she finds the other queens and dispatches them quite brutally. And if they hatch at the same time again, they fight to the death. And then she will strengthen her wings, and within a few days or so, she will fly out and mate. Mating is really neat too, by the way. I don't know if we've talked about this before or not, but when it comes to mating, the drones, that's their only purpose. They mate. They eat and, watch some TV, and they perform their duty once if they survive. Because what happens is the drones form these clouds, right? They just fly in these big circles, windy circles, but they just fly in the same path though, and they fly in these big circles, usually encompassing like an entire neighborhood, or I don't know what the radius is, but it's freaking huge, and they will fly, right? And the queen will fly through that cloud, and several of the drones they'll catch her scent, and they chase her. The one that catches her will mate with her in flight. She never slows down. So he has hauled tail catching up with her, gets to mate with her, and then the fun's over for this boy because his junk gets ripped out. The sperm continues to be pumped into her. She actually stores that in a special sac inside of her abdomen. And then she'll fly through again, and then again, and then again. She'll mate with up to a single queen will mate with up to approximately 20 drones. I don't have an exact number on that for you, but she'll mate with approximately 20 drones, and one time in her life. Then she'll take that back to the hive, and then she actually controls when to inseminate the next egg, when to fertilize that next egg. So she'll fertilize the egg, lay it, fertilize the egg, lay it, and all that kind of stuff. And so she controls that, which is what we were talking about earlier with the queen that ran out of sperm. And so she just kept on laying eggs, but it was just nothing but drone. It was unfertilized egg. So she'll do that. So what they'll do is, once they get to this overcrowded, because again, she'll get up to the multiple thousands of eggs a day, because all she does, and you see, look guys, you see how close these cells are to each other, right? So she's just taking her abdomen out and sticking it into the next, and then into the next, and the next. And she'll start, this is about the center. She'll start right about here in the center. And then she just works her way circularly around. So a lot of times you'll come in, most of the time we'll come in this corner right in here, all the way around on each of the corners of the frame, you'll find pollen or honey or both. And that food is there close at hand so that they can feed the larva. And so they will constantly keep those corners full. And it's on both sides of the frame, by the way, because obviously it's both sides. So on both sides of the frame, you'll find honey and or pollen in those corners. They use that to feed the larva, not themselves. And then once they've drained that particular cell of its honey, more is brought in so that it's constantly kept up with, as long as there's larvae in the hive. At this point, for instance, the queen isn't laying. This point of the year, the queen is not laying, or if she is, she's laying very minimally. And as it gets colder, she continuously reduces the amount of eggs that she's laying. And so most of the bees will have hatched by now. They're out and about, so they're not really putting anything back into those frames at this point because it's not like they're gathering. So they're just at this point getting ready to hunker down for the winter. Then in spring, halfway into the winter, we talked about this before, so I'm not going to get back into it in depth. Go look at some of my other videos. I don't remember which one it is. I'd give you a title. I can find it and maybe I'll link it in the comments on this video. So she starts laying, they start consuming all that food, blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is they get to a certain point in the spring where it's just overcrowded. There's not enough room for all the eggs that are being laid. There's not enough room for the honey. Like they've just maxed it out. We as beekeepers try to maximize that use of space. We try to make sure that they feel like they have just a little bit more room that they can keep filling up. And so that they're always striving to get to the point of being able to swarm, but they never quite reach that point of being able to swarm because they are at their absolute strongest just before they decide it's time to swarm. So if we can keep them at that threshold, which is where the art and science of beekeeping mix, that's where we come together with the artistic application of science is kind of what beekeeping is. And so if we can do that, and we're not too bad at it, we can do that, then we will produce maximum honey. And so the big idea that we want to do, because of course we also want to expand our operation here, we want more queens means more bees, right? You can only have one queen in the one hive, so we want to raise plenty of queens. And what we do is we create that sense of queenlessness for a small population of nurse bees so that their desire is to raise queens. But instead of allowing them to choose which larvae they're going to be using, we or I will take larvae and put those into what we call queen cups, and we give them those queen cups with the larva in it, with some royal jelly in it, because when the larva hatches out of the egg, they give her some of the royal jelly, and they'll do that for a day or two, a couple of days, maybe a few days. But then they switch her over to a different diet because they don't want her to develop into a queen. So she has a different diet. Unless she's going to be a queen, then that's when she gets the royal jelly. So we do that process. And so I'm kind of excited because I've never done this before. I've been beekeeping 30 years plus, and I've never done queen rearing before. It's never been really an option for us. We've never really needed to. And so I'm uber excited about that opportunity. So I'll bring you guys along with me. Now, I know you learn a lot watching these videos. I'm not necessarily trying to teach you how to be beekeepers. I'm trying to show you what beekeepers do. So if you have an interest in becoming a beekeeper, there's a process for that, steps to take for that. And they're kind of cool, and I don't necessarily discourage that, but I'd really love for you to say so first so that we can actually talk about that. Because the conversation that I have with you, if you're intending to become a beekeeper, is different than the conversation I'm having on these videos. So don't without more guidance. And we can talk about that. So hopefully that was clear. So I'm excited about being able to raise these queens. And the neat thing is, in a single one of these queen nooks, in a single one of those, we can actually start 30, 40 queens if we wanted to. So you have, 20, 25, whatever the case is, we decide on a number of queen cells that we want to get started in there. Because you can't actually task them with too much. They're just not enough bees to produce the royal jelly or whatever the case is. So you take whatever number of queens that you want to raise, and you split that among a number of hives. It's some math involved there. And then once they've actually closed off the queen cell, then that process is done. And then you actually take that queen cell and you actually divide it up and you get your colonies started. You can use them to expand. You can take them and sell them. Other beekeepers, you're constantly in need of a queen, a new queen. For whatever reason, either you want to expand, you don't want to do the queen raising yourself, which is where we've been in the past, or we talked earlier in the video about loss of queens, and so stuff like that will happen as well. So there's plenty of need to have queens on hand, whether for yourself or for other beekeepers in your area. You sell those, make a little bit of money, all that kind of fun stuff. It's nice. Guys, I got some other stuff I need to get done today. I don't know if you know this or not, but it is hunting season here in Kentucky, and so I want to go get my bow sighted in, my crossbow, make sure that it's on hand. Got some stuff that I wanted to do out in the woods to get ready for hunting in the morning. So if you don't have any other questions for me, I'm gonna go get ready to kill me a deer, hopefully. As always, it's a lot of fun. I knew I wanted to talk about the extractor today. I didn't have any idea what else we would talk about. So Troy, thanks very much for popping in with some ideas for us. And we'll continue to do this. Let's see, Tuesday or Wednesday each week is when I will be over in the Louisville area. So next week, for instance, I'll probably try to get out here on Wednesday. So we'll probably do another video, another Facebook Live on that day. And then I'll, of course, like I'm going to do with this one, I'll get it transferred over to YouTube. Without getting into it too much, guys, watching the video again, even if you just turn it on and walk away from your phone or walk away from your computer or whatever, let the video go. Sharing it with folks, that sort of stuff. Those things actually help me build this channel. I'm not trying to get monetized by any stretch of imagination. YouTube is, they're not fond of guns. And I mean, like I've got one on my hip right now. It's exposed. You can't see it right now because of the angle of the camera. But I'm not going to try to not be a gun guy so that I can make money with YouTube. They see guns. They're like, we're not going to make any, you're not going to pay you any money. They can keep their money. But what I want to be able to do is get enough viewers, enough subscribers that I can actually do YouTube live videos so that I don't have to keep transferring from one program to the other. And I've talked about this before in previous videos as well. So I would love for you guys to not only share these videos with folks, but encourage your friends to subscribe to my channel. Because you guys are consistently logging in and or signing on or whatever and watching these videos as I do them live. And so I must be doing something right by your estimation. I would love ideas or suggestions if you've got them to always help try to improve. But here you are yet again. I see these same names. Becky, I think you're on my YouTube channel, YouTube live channels, videos more than I am, actually. You're here quite a bit. I would love to encourage some more folks to get on and subscribe to my channel so that we can actually do more with these videos. So please, please, please share them. If you have not already on my YouTube page, feel free to subscribe. I strongly encourage you to subscribe. You can hit the like button. You can hit the little bell that allow you to get notified anytime I put a new video up. But as you share, I'm asking you to please encourage folks to cool. Becky says she likes to listen while she works, so thank you for that. That's kind of neat. Actually, I say it playfully all the time. I think I'm hysterical, so I like to replay the video so I can listen to my jokes and get a good laugh at them. But the fact is, I get done with this video, and as it's loading up onto YouTube, I'll listen to it because I try to make sure I'm not saying stupid stuff or sharing some wrong information, because I always want to try to come back and correct that if I realize it, or if I think about it. Like in my last video, I said something stupid, but now I can't remember what that was. So I'll have to go back and re-listen to it and make note of it and come back and say, hey, you know, in this other video I said this dumb thing. Well, this is what the truth is. Because I don't want to give you guys misinformation. But a lot of times I'll say, you know, I'm just talking off of what I can remember, and we have all seen that my memory sucks. So, you know, sometimes I'll have to come back and look. But share the videos from my YouTube page, not this, like this Facebook. This live will post onto Facebook. Don't share it. Once I get it uploaded from YouTube, share that one, because that actually gives credit to me on YouTube then, as far as view time and all that other kind of stuff, all those metrics that they, you know, they're not a whole lot of metrics, but the metrics that they do measure, that's how I get the credit for it. Being able to do a YouTube live, for instance, as far as hours of video feed watched, when I do a live from YouTube, that will actually, once I post it and make it public, that the time that you guys are right here, right now watching, if it's on YouTube, then I get credit for those hours. Right now, I won't, because it's on Facebook instead. So there are several reasons for us to be sharing that. Help me build this channel, help me reach more people, that sort of thing. And as always, I'm going to encourage you guys to reach out to me. I've already given my email address, but I'll say it again, hunsuckerbees@gmail.com. Feel free to send me your stories. Let me know what your experiences are with bees. And if it's something that you wouldn't mind talking about, let's do one of these shared video things so that we can talk about beekeeping together live. That would be kind of neat. Like the page, subscribe to the page. I think I've said all that. And if you have any questions, feel free, reach out to me. Let me know what they are. If you've got ideas that you'd like for me, or questions that you have for me, I may answer you via email. My niece Anna sent me, actually, I can't remember if she texted me or we talked on the phone. But either way, we talked, and she had some questions. And the very next day, I came out and did another live video, and I was able to address those concerns. Oh, that's what it was. We talked about, she sent me about the guy that lost all those bees because of pesticides. And so we were able to talk about that for a bit. Guys, I want to be able to address them. So send them to me and let's talk about it. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and head out to the woods. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for logging in and listening. And help me make this thing grow, okay? See ya.